The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Winemakers. This is Brian Casey with Danielle Langlois, Bart Hansen, Sam Couturi. Sit back, pour yourself a glass, and let's see what we're getting into. Mine was a dribbler.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was not a glug glug.
Welcome back, everyone. We're at DTC Symposium.
We are
With Bart Hansen, Sam Couturi, Danielle Langlois, Brian Casey, and Louis. Come on, give it.
Moneyutis.
Thank you, Sam. Did you just finish up your session?
I did.
How did it go?
It was great. It's a lot of pressure being the first talk of the day, but I think it went really well.
The 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed your talk. I'm going to have to reference my notes. So the fact of building connections is something that we're all struggling to do. And could you talk a little bit about you talked about features, benefits, and into emotion.
First, can we?
Let's back. I'm sorry.
No, hold on.
No. I apologize, you guys. I should have just asked.
Give us a little bit of your background, because I'm assuming you've known Barbara for a while.
Yes.
And keep in mind that, and I was thinking about this morning, when some of Barbara's friends, or even Barbara in general, when she starts talking to us about marketing and strategy, I know that in wine, we sort of have our own language, and you guys seem to have your own language as well. And sometimes with people like us that have smaller brands, we don't have a marketing team. We don't have a budget of all the, of a whole different office that works on these things. So for us, when you start getting into some of the language of marketing, we kind of like get this hazed over look in our eye. Yeah. So just maybe with that in mind,
with that look in our eye.
Give us kind of just an overall view of what it is exactly you do and what you're bringing to the symposium in reference to wine.
Absolutely. I'm glad you say that. The funny thing is there's so many acronyms in marketing, especially digital marketing, CAC, ROAS, LTV, MER,
Yes.
And the funny thing is sometimes I'll be on a call if we're talking to a new agency partner and they'll throw out an acronym. And as the CMO, I'm like, I need to know what that is. So I'll be like, oh, right. It's just another
what's a CMO?
way to say that. Right. Well, and what's a CMO? Sometimes I have to Google that too. So I've been in marketing my entire career. I started working at Leo Burnett, which is how Barbara and I first met, which is one of the big advertising and branding agencies in the country, and was lucky enough to be a small cog in a big machine on brands, including Morgan Stanley, Motorola, and focused on the brand strategy side of it. So Barbara was a creative director. I was on the strategy side, and really was great training. After that, I moved to New York and spent about 10 years in corporate fashion at Calvin Klein, John Barbados, Tommy Hilfiger.
You look great, by the way.
Yes.
It explains why he's the best dressed person at the conference.
Totally.
There's like, I got some wine vests, maybe there's a flannel out there somewhere, and then there's Louis.
Yeah, you're giving us all a little lesson today.
And I was lucky enough to be at those brands at really exciting inflection points. So it's when they were looking to expand their distribution channels and their price points. So for example, at Calvin Klein, which was historically either runway level clothing, or you could access it through licensed products, namely underwear, fragrance, and denim, but there wasn't everyday wear for men and women. So we were part of the team that was opening up, selling through Macy's and selling through our own outlet stores. And thinking about how you can take the brand equity and the heritage and still transform it, not cheapening the brand, but making it accessible for customers at that price point in the distribution channels. Mm-hmm. And then I've spent the past 15 years after that working at direct-to-consumer brands, so digital first, that are really focused on the premium to luxury price points of what is most likely best said as consumer packaged goods. So I've done every vertical from Japanese snacks and treats to pet accessories to small kitchen appliances, some cannabis adjacent work, travel, a lot of fashion. Adjacent? Yes, we didn't touch flour, but we had products that supported flour. And what I've learned is that there's really these through lines that regardless of the vertical, there's a strategy and a framework that's important to put into place. Doesn't matter if the company's large or small.
Right. So there's a system that you put in place that will fit most brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what Bart was bringing up, is the core thesis of my keynote today is when I come into brands, and usually I am brought in through either the venture capital or the private equity investors, usually when there's a new round of funding, or in some cases when they have a distressed asset. And I come in to, steer the ship, right?
Clean house sometimes.
Well, that happens unfortunately as well, but just put it back on the right track.
Yeah.
And what I see is that so many brands end up talking about their features. And the analogy I made in my talk is that if you're sitting at a dinner party and you meet somebody for the first time, and all they do is tell you how great they are and where they're from, and it's exhausting and it's boring. You can't wait to exit the conversation. Now imagine you're sitting at a table with 25 people all doing the same thing. That's what a majority of brands are doing when they're trying to get customers' attention. The brands that do a little bit better talk about benefits. So for example, if you're selling bedding, everybody talks about thread count. Who really knows what thread count you really need?
Has anyone actually gotten 5 different thread counts, slept in them on each individual night, taken notes, and then decided their purchase based on that data?
Exactly.
Right.
And the funny thing about that is if you go into buy sheets, you have limited real estate on that packaging. And the biggest thing is always the thread count. Right? Who cares? The brands that do a little better are connecting the dots. So because of our thread counts, you're going to have softer sheets. But that is factual yet forgettable because everyone else is saying the exact same thing in your category. The brands that really stand out are tapping into an emotion. So instead of softer sheets with a great thread count, you want to say, potentially, I am going to buy from you because I deserve the very best when I go to sleep.
Right.
And that's the emotion that's going to allow you to break away from the pack.
And I feel better when I'm sleeping on those sheets.
Right.
Yeah. So how does it pertain to wine, especially now, specifically with some of the larger brands, what you're talking about, when you start talking about venture capitalists bringing people in like yourself?
Yeah.
For smaller brands that are here at DTC Symposium, what can we do to incorporate some of these same strategies, but on a much smaller level?
It's a really great question. And I think that you're touching upon a misconception that's a vestige from the past. So it used to be that you needed big research budgets and big teams to really gain customer insights. And what bridges the chasm between talking about features and benefits and emotion is understanding your customer. That used to be pretty expensive, especially if you were in a vertical like wine where you have a distributor and a wholesaler and retailer. Like, you are so far removed from your end customer. How are you ever really going to understand them? Now, there's the opportunity to look at all the different touch points with your customers. So we get customer reviews, we get social media comments, we get DMs on social media. We have, even if you have a wine, one of those handwritten books in your tasting room, where people are
like a guest book.
A guest book, you're able to look at that comments. And what I suggest, and there's a link that I could share with your audience about how to do this, but download all of that. I try to scrub it of anyone's emails and names just for privacy, but download all of that data, put it into an LLM. It doesn't matter if it's GPT, Claude, Perplexity, and then throw in whatever you have about your brand. So the brand history, the founder story, the brand guidelines, your varietal information, and ask it with all of this data, what are the 5 reasons people love us? And what are the 5 things that are preventing people from buying from us? What are their concerns? It's too expensive. I don't know if it's going to taste too funky. Is it going to be a good gift? Whatever those are, because those are the objections you need to overcome in your marketing. The good thing, though, is this entire process takes maybe 2 hours. And if you follow these prompts that I'll share in the link, you're able to come up with comes up with all the questions to ask, and it will spit out some really good insights that you can then start to lean into.
And are you personally a wine drinker?
I am.
Yeah. So tell me some of your favorite brands.
What drives your wine? What drives your,
what
makes your connections emotionally from the benefits of the wine to when
Yeah.
you decide to purchase?
So where I really started to get interested in wine, and I'm probably not as well versed as the rest of the people sitting in this room. We're
just faking it.
Yeah, everyone's waiting. There was an event in New York City where I live at City Winery, and it was a multi-brand event, each with their own little tables, and they had a representative from the winery, and you could do a small tasting.
Was there a theme, or was it just a bunch of random wineries?
There probably was a theme, but I don't remember.
That's okay.
But there were a lot of wineries there, and some of which I had seen at retail, some of which were discovery. And we got there early. And I remember this still to this day. This was 10 years ago. Flowers Winery was there, and Chantel, I believe is her name, who I believe is the one that actually comes up with, the recipes is the wrong word. But she spent like maybe 5 minutes talking to us about the location and her philosophy and how they bottle it. And it was just this real insight into the brand. And I will tell you, after that, we really enjoyed drinking flowers, right? Because we had a connection to the brand.
Yeah.
And then we, during the pandemic, lived within walking distance of Italy, the big one on 23rd Street, Manhattan. And because we couldn't travel to Italy, we would go once a week and get prosciutto and figs and, pretend like we were having an Italian picnic. And we went to the wine store next to them and started talking to the guy about Barolos and different types of, varietals from Italy. And we would go back and he would ask us what we liked, and he would then recommend something else. And it was just this guided journey that gave us that emotional connection to the experience, right?
Which I've always said that I think sometimes when I'm drinking wine, I think it tastes better when I have a connection to the people that are making the wine.
Yeah.
And, whether it's I don't know what you call it, suggestive.
Well, it's an emotional connection.
Yeah.
It is an emotional connection, like Topless Creek. Every time I'm drinking Topless Creek, I'm thinking, Jason's at the helm, taking care of those grapes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you appreciate their farming practices. Right. You appreciate because you've been educated. You appreciate their thoughtfulness in packaging. Yeah. Right. And it makes you want to support them.
And it tastes good.
And they make good wine, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about the differences between age currently. So someone 21 to 25 versus 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and different strategies for marketing towards those people. And is that something that you actually think about when you're coming up with a strategy? Are you coming up with different levels based on different demographics?
Yeah.
Because as you may know, just to prompt you a little bit, right now we're trying to attract younger drinkers, and so, we should be looking at them differently?
Yeah. There's a push and pull in the answer I'm going to give, which is it's important to look at demographic data, but demographic data is so boring because it's specific to location or age. Psychographic data and interest-based data is far more compelling.
Well, it's psychographic?
Psychographic.
What is that?
The movies you watch.
It's the interest that you have. So your viewing behavior of TikTok might be closer to someone in their 20s than someone,
right,
your age and your interest group,
true.
right?
Right.
So it's important to come up with customer personas. So I'll give you an example. I was chief marketing officer at a Japanese snack and treats company called Boxu, which was a portfolio strategy with 6 brands, but our hero brand was a subscription box. So every month you would get new Japanese snacks and treats.
This is amazing. Sonda Bernstein, friend of the pod, she was on one of these kicks for a long time. She was having them all delivered to her house. And it was the coolest thing. She loved opening the box and getting these different treats that she had never seen or heard of before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when we were thinking about who to market to, we developed different personas. So I'll go through a few of them just to show. We knew that we over-indexed, like most e-commerce brands, in
things like that. When you say over-indexed, what does that mean?
That a majority of our sales were in 2 states, New York and California.
Okay.
Right. So along the coasts, we had a lot more customers. So we could do some geo-specific targeting, but who really wants to do that? What we had a lot more success with was realizing that one of the core pillars of our audience group were parents that wanted to make snack time fun and educational with their kids.
I was in that group.
Right.
Yes.
So instead of giving them goldfish, you can give them a Japanese snack and then open the book and say, this is Kyoto. How exciting. Yeah. The other one were culinary adventurous people, right? People that are just chasing the crazy new flavors.
And that was Sandra. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things we did in the box is we would always have, like, we knew what our best flavor profiles were, but we would always have one discovery snack, which we knew was a flavor that was probably not going to be well received by the American palate. Usually more of like a fish umami heavy type of flavor that's very popular in Japan. And people would write to us and they would say, and this is interesting in our post-customer survey, they would, how did you like the flavor? How did you like the taste? How do you like the texture? And it would always be low, low, low. But then we added an additional question. How much did you enjoy experiencing this? 10. Because it was something I never tasted before. I don't want to have it again, but I'm so glad you exposed me to it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's an insight that we were able to lean into far more than your 20 to 25.
Yeah.
Okay. Now getting to your question though. The wine industry, from my research, is going through a bit of a unique problem in terms of consumption patterns. So you have the older generation aging out. You have the younger generation that has different perspectives on alcohol in general, wine more specifically, and how they want to engage with it. So it's either the format, it's the alcohol content, or maybe they're just doing, something else recreationally. The challenge with that audience group, or people that are psychographically aligned with them, is that there are so many channels where they are spending time. Twitch, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. They're not on Facebook.
Digital, and I've learned this term, digital native as opposed to digital immigrant.
Exactly.
Right.
And so you have to really think about how you're going to reach them in each of those channels in a way that feels native to that channel.
Right.
So I think the hard thing, it doesn't matter how big the brand is, you can't do everything well in every channel. There's just not enough content, not enough resources. So pick the one that you think makes the most sense and lean really heavily into it and do it really well. Yeah. And doing it really well does not mean beautifully produced, high quality, like Coppola level content. A lot of times what we call ugly ads, ugly content behind the scenes on an iPhone that's super shaky, it just feels authentic for the platform. That works.
Like back in the day, what was that horror movie that was
Blair Witch Project?
Blair Witch.
Right. Which, especially nowadays with these new phones and with AI, any one of us can make basically a complete 1-minute digital movie that looks like 20 years ago would have been produced by MGM.
Yeah.
But the problem is then you're not keeping like a uniqueness or a personality to it for your brand. And then the other part about marketing towards younger people, and this is when I remember when TikTok first came out, is that you were so worried that you're also marketing to someone that is below the drinking age. Mm-hmm. You're like going to a channel that is both seen by people 14 to 21 and then also 21 to 30.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of picking your the correct platform.
Yeah.
To reach the desired people that you want to reach.
Right.
But it's funny that when I learned this term digital native, are these people that are they were raised with phones, iPads in their hands.
Right.
For them, it's a completely different world than what is it called? Digital immigrants now, people that are sort of learning, like my mom that is, still doesn't know. Or when I get updates on my phone, still, I'm like, what the fuck just happened to everything that I knew?
How to use my iPhone again.
Yes.
In your researching the wine industry, because it doesn't sound like you've really done specific wine marketing work, which I actually love about this conference and the way that Barbara brings in people who, have other experiences. But in digging into what's going on in the wine world and the challenges of the wine world, are there things that you see that are different than challenges that these other industries have that we have to face that are unique to what you've had to deal with before, and some thoughts on how we tackle those things, or you think we're just sort of so bogged in our own crap that we can't figure out that we're just another Japanese snack company and could figure it out, right?
But I think specifically is the amount of SKUs that we have. So the amount of people producing wine, like that's a pretty unique challenge. That's unlike Louis Vuitton or Calvin Klein, who is making clothes, but that's at a different level.
Everybody has competitors, though, right?
Right.
I mean,
but there's I think it's about the amount of choices of things that are like all fairly even, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of another product that possibly has that many people doing the
Beer.
same thing. I don't even think beer has as many.
Right. Because, most breweries don't make 35 different beers every year
Themselves.
No,
Their
but
next door neighbor.
They
and
make
their next door
18.
neighbor.
I mean, they do. But they're also.
Should we let the guys answer the question?
Yeah, sure. We argue amongst ourselves.
You are right. There's an incredible amount of choice. And what I see brands doing to differentiate themselves is to talk about their features. Biodynamic, soil, barrel aged, whatever it is. But that's not an emotional connection. And the opportunity for the wine industry more broadly is to continue to expand the overall number of people that are engaged with it, right? So once you find someone who's really into a rosé from this region, then you can get a little more nerdy about the specific. They're going to care more, right, about some of those details. But if you're reaching someone for the first time, get the emotional hook. Like, what is the moment that wine sits in their life? And more than that, what type of person do they want to be when they buy your wine, right? So people don't buy brands because it's fundamentally solving a need, like a Louis Vuitton carry-all. You don't need that to be your gym bag. You're buying it because you become, at least in your mind, an aspirational version of yourself. Right. So what can you do so that your wine, when someone pops into a wine store before a dinner party, do they want to be the type of person that's known for always bringing something completely new and fresh? Do they want to be the type of person who's the host that's always taking care of all their guests? Like, these are the aspirational moments that you can try to lean into.
Yeah. Or being part of a culture, which I think I see with some brands, is people just want to be a part of that particular
Community.
Community.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you.
I know.
Anything else?
We're just like have to thinking like how to figure out the rest of our lives now. You know, like all this shit. We're like, oh, we use nice barrels and we have the best rocky soils and.
I mean, it is tough, and Brian's not wrong in that everybody's kind of doing the same thing. We're all talking about, our farming and, whether it's.
Well, unless you farm like shit, right?
Well, right.
No, then they're sustainable. Sorry.
Yeah, they're
Right.
sustainable then.
Right.
I will say, so this all sounds easy, right? Listen to your customers, create an emotional connection.
Right.
So where does it fall flat? And something we were talking about earlier is where I most often see this be the case is at companies where the founder is now the CEO, or multi-generational businesses where there's a legacy component. For a very long time in a business, you can be, as the founder and CEO, you can be the target audience. So your emotions can dictate your decisions. You don't like a color, you don't like a font, you don't like a flavor, because you are representing your ideal customer base. Mm-hmm. There comes an inflection point, though, where you may no longer be your target audience. And that's a very hard thing for people, not just founders and CEOs, also marketing leaders, et cetera, to say, oh my gosh, I'm now going to have to rely much more heavily on what our customers are telling us and on put some structure of data around that to inform the decisions. And you will have to say, you know what? I don't necessarily love that, but I know my customers well.
It's a little release of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that there's certainly a lot of, brands in the wine industry that are now run by people who are no longer their target audience, even though they might not have adjusted their tactics or behavior for it, right? I mean, that's exactly what's going on in the wine industry. Because there's a whole lot of the sort of generational transitions all over.
Are you calling us all old, Sam?
No, I'm calling the people who were above us old.
Right. I mean, letting your child take over the business if they want to come into it, right? And giving up that control.
But we all do kind of talk shit on people when they change their labels or change their strategies a little bit. Like at some point, you're like, oh, what are they doing now? Who do they think they are? Kind of thing.
Well, and there's a whole lot of rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cool. What do you do in your free time when you're not traveling around the world doing brand strategy?
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of consulting work for different brands of all sizes, which has been great. I actually launched a travel business a couple years ago, which has been so much fun.
This sounds self-serving.
It does have some nice
like
benefits.
Yeah.
It does have some nice benefits.
Yeah.
I'm heading to Morocco next week with some other people in the industry.
Have you been there before?
First time.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then, just try to take advantage of living in New York City, which there's never a paucity of things to do.
Yeah. I might be there soon. My daughter is possibly going to Fordham. She's hoping to get in Columbia, but we'll see. It looks like I might be spending some time in New York.
Nice.
You a tennis fan?
I like watching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like going to the Open, but not getting out there on the court.
Exactly. Yes.
Wait. All right. And do you want to tell people about your travel brand in case they want to reach out to you?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So it is called Groove Jet Travel. And
have I heard of this before?
I hope so.
Or are you psychographically targeted in the algorithm?
Okay, tell me a little bit more about it, because this is somehow hitting some part of my brain where I'm like, wait a minute.
So it is a travel business focused more on the luxury end of the market.
Yeah.
And we do everything from safaris, trips to Machu Picchu, Japan, super popular, but also someone wants to just do a quick weekend trip to New York. We can assist them with that as well.
And anywhere in the world? Or
Anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Ever considered wine country?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you help them plan trips? Do you actually take people?
Good question. So we right now are focused primarily on working on building the itinerary, booking the hotels, booking the flights, it's an old school kind of travel advisor type strategy. And then we have a network of local market partners. So, if I have not been to a certain location personally, I can bring in a local market partner who lives there and say, okay, there's construction at the Four Seasons, so you want to make sure you stay here. And this is not the best time to visit this location.
Right.
All the insider knowledge. It's so much fun.
That sounds like
And say it again.
Groovejet.travel is the website.
And are people flying commercial?
A lot of people are, but I can only really, so the airlines are a little tricky in terms of working with advisors. Hotels love working with advisors, but the airlines really have focused more on business and first class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's something we definitely talk about in Wine Country about. Everyone wants to be in the tour business and take people to their favorite places.
Yeah.
Mainly friends of ours.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a cool thing, though, is to be like, okay, we're going to put together a group of, X number of people, and they're going to see these vineyards and stay at these beautiful resorts along the way.
Yeah.
And
let us know if you ever
Local
have a
partners
group
right
that
here.
wants to go.
We know people.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's always a good time of year to come.
Yeah.
Cool. What are you going to be doing the rest of the conference? Are you taking off?
I'm excited to see the other panels and sessions. Some really great content.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for dropping some knowledge.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah. Thanks again. All right. Coming to you from Direct to Consumer Symposium.
Who are we? The winemakers.
What the winemakers.
On Radio Misfits. I don't even know. What are we doing?
Yeah, it was Ed's birthday, I think, the other day.
Oh, that's right. We missed
Happy
Ed's
birthday, Ed.
We missed the Podfather's birthday.
He might be listening. Happy birthday, Ed. Drip, drip, drip,
Yeah.
Danielle.
That was like a Charles Barkley golf swing. There was a little hitch in the middle of it.
We are on a golf course here at the Del Monte Hyatt in
17.2 holes this morning.
Monterey. Sam shot a 94.
No, but sure, I'll take it.
Right. 94 on
Will
17.2.
you post that to my handicap, please? I'll take a 94.
Sure. And we're almost at the end of the day here. Have you been, Lane Soelberg, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
You've been checking out some of the talks or just been wandering around eating some of the...
I've been going to the talks. I've been going through the expo and seeing all the cool vendors and enablers that are here for winemakers.
Yeah.
So much you can do.
Have you learned anything?
I've learned a lot.
I mean, anything in particular like that struck you?
I've learned that I think there's a desire to get creative and innovative because
We're being forced to.
you have to. It's nice to see regulatory has opened up. I didn't realize that all states are blue now instead of just the one red in Utah that you can't ship to. That's exciting.
Isn't that nice?
That's really nice.
Just have one to focus on.
That's nice. And then, you have somebody like Meta that's going to turn their algorithms off for everything that was working. So now, a lot of winemakers have to pivot in another direction. And
is that why we all got that message on our Instagram or Facebook accounts that we're not being recommended anymore?
Well, that might be you, Sam. I don't know. No.
What did you do?
Yeah, that is.
I don't recommend it.
That is taking the stance of, I guess, getting out of the. I don't know if it's entirely alcohol or wine focused, but it's not as friendly a channel as it used to be in terms of making good ROI for winemakers. So they have to explore other channels, and that's what I was here talking about. So it was exciting.
Cool. Give us a little history about yourself, and then talk to us a little bit about what you're gonna what you've been talking about here at the conference.
Yeah, sure. So started off my career in advertising mainly because I was too afraid to go full on into entertainment. I thought, storytelling is storytelling. I'll do it 30 seconds at a time.
Briefly going to pause there. You might have been a producer for a ponderous neo-noir movie called Pure Killjoy.
That's right.
So a little dip your toe into...
I did. I did my first 5 years in advertising at Leo Burnett in Chicago. That was back in the days when TV ruled the roost. Boy, did I love TV shoots and being on sets and everything. And a friend of mine from fourth grade who had gone into the entertainment space and was out in Los Angeles working at Fox Studios called me up and said, I've got a script. And I think, let's see if we can make an independent film. This was when Clerks was, that whole indie wave that was happening in the middle of the 90s. And so, we bootstrapped it. We raised money and somehow pulled a 20-day shoot together on the back lot of Paramount Studios, and everything was guerrilla. We did it on Thanksgiving weekend.
How much did it cost in total?
I think and this was all on film. And we edited it with real people. It was very passion driven, not cash driven. Our total raise was about $150K.
Nice.
And what's
on 35 millimeter?
What's the title?
Pure Killjoy.
Pure Killjoy.
Yeah.
It did the film festival circuit. It scratched the creative itch. It got me out to LA, which is where I live now. Yeah. But once I got to LA and I realized you might spend 2 years on a project and not know if it's going to get picked up or something, I went back into advertising.
It's a brutal life.
It is a brutal life. But we can now tell stories so much faster with all the tools that we have. They don't have that long production process anymore.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
it's exciting.
All right, so
maybe I'll be back into it.
So you decide I'm going to go full steam into advertising at that point.
Yeah, it was back into advertising, and it was right around Web Bubble 1, where my role as the younger kid in the agency was try these new media channels. And what I learned was there was a lot more accountability with anything that could be tracked. And if you had accountability, you could steal budgets from things that couldn't be tracked. Right. So my whole career arc is raiding legacy media for their money because I have accountability and they don't. And so that's been the long arc of my career, and it's still working. So
that's amazing. And what kind of projects were you working on? What was some things that we would know?
Oh, back in the ad agency days and on the client side. I was at TBWHI Day in Los Angeles and heading up their Digerati group. So we
Did
had.
you come up with the name, or did they come up?
No,
with the
they
name?
had that.
Okay.
But we did a lot of fun stuff for brands like Nissan and Infinity and Taco Bell. The Yo Quiero Taco Bell kind of stuff. International Olympic Committee and Sony PlayStation. Those were all some really fun brands that we got to experiment and play with when the digital was new. We could try anything.
Yeah.
And then went client side, did some work for Mazda and launched the Mazda 3. Went client side at Gateway Computers with the cow pattern boxes.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
really?
Mhm.
The Holstein boxes.
The Holstein boxes, direct to consumer, baby. They knew how to spend money at scale as long as there was accountability. So I was commuting down to Poway, California, and running both ad agencies. We had Crispin Porter for creative and Leo Burnett in Chicago, my old stomping grounds. And I had a $180 million budget. And most of that was being paid for by Microsoft and Intel.
Yeah.
So I was selling my media plan to them for co-op funds before I even knew what we were advertising, because it was one big reimbursement wheel.
Yeah.
So
Just keep this thing going.
that was where that was where I got my performance driven focus. So test everything, learn, let data tell you where to go.
Yeah. And so that's basically what you were talking about here at the conference is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of things regulatory and also just from a tech standpoint that have enabled small and medium-sized businesses to play in the TV space. TV for a long time, it's that last bastion to fall where it was just such an expensive game to play and a lot of fuzzy math on whether you could say it worked or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and the only real knowledge that a normal consumer has is we hear about the price of Super Bowl ads.
yeah.
Right. So
Right.
we're like, holy crap, it's $1 million to get 30 seconds on TV. That's our general knowledge of it.
And I think you're right. I think everybody kind of, it's funny how we still talk about how much it costs in a Super Bowl ad, but we should be talking about the fact that a small winery that's doing, 100 crates a year can be doing stuff for $50 a day.
Right. And so tell us, how does that work? Because I've heard Barbara mention this on more than one occasion.
So there's been this marketplace that has developed. Really, it's over the last 20 years that it just keeps getting bigger and faster and better. But it works like the stock market. It's an open marketplace where people are placing bids across thousands of providers, which are publishers that have little slots available for sale, the avails or the ads. And you go in with your budget and what you're willing to spend per 1,000 impressions.
Wait, how does that break out?
What's an impression?
That's a great question. So an impression, and it's defined differently depending on who you're buying it from. Okay. Meta considers 3 seconds of exposure an impression.
Okay.
Well, how much of your sales pitch did you get out in 3 seconds?
Right. Well, you got an image.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. But for those stories that were compelling, Meta had a really powerful kind of closed loop measurement system that could prove they were moving bottles of wine or whatever you were selling. So did you care about the impression? Right. What you really cared about was, did you sell anything?
Yeah.
And were you able to sell it at a lower cost of acquisition of that sale? What did it cost me to get that sale? Yeah. And Meta has a really amazing engine. If you think about it, the reason Facebook is as big as it is and is producing the revenue it's producing, it's not because Ford is advertising on, it's because my wife's physical therapy practice in Santa Monica on 11th and Broadway is advertising on it. Yeah. And that times millions of small businesses is way bigger from an economic standpoint than any one big advertiser. So that's, to me, where the economy is. That's where the heart of America lives, is entrepreneurs, small business owners that are getting out there and taking a risk and building an audience around a product that they love.
I just got a house cleaner that I hired last week that I found because of an ad on Instagram. That was a local house cleaning company. And it
works.
It totally worked.
And I think that the nice part about, and just like, any technology, there's pros and cons for whatever technology is. But The good part about the programmatic ad exchange kind of marketplace that we're in is hopefully you've got a lot of content in your feed, whatever that is. You're streaming on your TV or your mobile phone. Hopefully, even if it's an ad, it's relevant to you. And okay, that's a permissible interruption because I could actually use that. That's ideally that getting rid of that old Wanamaker quote in advertising. Half my money advertising budget is wasted. I just don't know which half. We're getting better. There's still waste there, but it's a lot less. Yeah. It's a lot more relevant.
How does that work so do you pick as a person who wants to place an ad, can you pick a specific area in the country?
There's so much you can do. Yes. So there's demographic targeting. Yeah. So we all need to be LDA compliant with 21 plus. At least 71.5% of your audience needs to be over the age of 21.
How do they wait? So you're not putting an ad during what are you watching now, Sam? Bluey or something at your house?
There's a lot of Bluey.
So you wouldn't probably put a wine focused ad in the middle of a cartoon.
Actually, a lot of parents watch Bluey.
Yeah. Well, but how do they regulate this?
It's a good question. Legally, you could run it in Bluey if your audience has been verified by a trusted third party provider like a TransUnion or an Experian that has data on everybody in the country. And they also know the devices that you're connected to. So if I want to target 21 plus, it's only good. Now they don't give people your name or anything. They just make sure that if you're going to route this ad in a direction, it's going to land where somebody's 21 plus.
Yeah.
So technically it could go to Bluey, but the publishers can refuse anything that they don't think is appropriate for their audience. And so I think you would run into the Bluey producers saying that's not going to run.
Right.
No guns, no fireworks, no other stuff.
Right.
But the pipes are there and the audience data is there. Besides demographic, there's geographic. So you can say people that are just in this area down to like congressional district level, zip code level. You can go backwards and you can put a geofence up around a particular winery. And over the last 6 months, what are all the devices that came in and out of my geofence? I want to retarget those people.
Really?
Yeah. Or who hit my website? I want to retarget those people. They at least know who I am and gave enough of care to like check out my website. So it might as well stay on the radar screen.
Yeah.
So that's retargeting data. There's behavioral data. Who's been shopping for wine in the last 24 hours? I want to target them. There's lifestyle data. Who's watching this? Who's watching some Bigfoot show because I've got a brand called Bigfoot. And like lots of different ways to slice and dice it.
Yeah.
So all of that is unlike old TV, legacy TV. It's trackable, and so you can associate the message that got exposed to a particular IP address, which is your router in your house, with that same IP address that showed up on the receipt, the digital receipt that went to their email because there was a pixel on it, and we see the match. So we can tell we showed the ad and then they showed up and they bought.
All right. Let's talk pricing.
Okay.
So what are we talking about let's say I build an ad for my winery. It's 30 seconds long. Yeah. I want to hit Northwest Chicago.
Right.
Because I've heard that there's a lot of wine drinkers there and maybe they got some disposable income.
Yeah.
Is that a good area? So
what would that cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, $12. No.
Can I write you a check?
Yeah.
Do you take Venmo?
So there's I'll kind of talk about different ways and get to the way to think about it. Most of the media, which is what you're buying to basically carry your message, is priced on what's called a CPM basis. M stands for 1,000, like Roman numerals. So you buy them 1,000 impressions at a time. Mm-hmm. And a healthy range of cost per 1,000 impressions is probably and we're talking about OTT and CTV.
Break that down.
Yeah, OTT and streaming TV.
Okay.
Streaming TV, their rates are probably in the $15 to $25 range. If you're running skippable pre-roll ads that are showing up before the content you want to watch on YouTube, you're probably in the anywhere from $1.50 to $3 range. So different channels have their own pricing. They have their own trade-offs. They also have their own definitions of what qualifies as an impression.
And is it more money for the non-skippable? Like when you have those ads that come up that you're forced to watch basically. So that's costing me more money if I want to do that.
Yeah, and that's why streaming TV still carries a premium. It's got the big screen on the wall. You're pretty much sitting on that couch taking in that message, and very, very few people skip it. The metric that gets tracked when you're running streaming TV campaigns is called video completion rate, or your VCR. If you're running on that big screen, your video completion rate is north of 90%.
Really?
Doesn't mean you were paying attention, but at least the ad ran the whole time. Yeah. And you couldn't just scroll past it on your feed.
It's because you couldn't find your remote.
Yeah.
Now, are there really savvy advertisers that will pay less, get the one that gets skipped in 5 seconds, but try and get as much information in that first 5 seconds as possible?
Just about anything you can think of.
It's been tried.
And, those are called bumpers, 6-second ads that I can just buy 6-second ads. Yeah. I can also do long form, and I can run a 2-minute ad where I can really romance the product and talk about how the wine was made, and Bigfoot squashed it with his giant feet and got more juice out of the grape or something. Like whatever the story is, take as long as you want. You're just paying for the time.
I mean, it's really amazing when you sit and watch things. A minute of screen time is a long time.
It is a long time. It's more than people think.
And 6 seconds seems like nothing, but it's an amount of time. Yeah.
And so the other key metric when you're thinking of TV or any kind of video media, and specifically direct to consumer, how many touches does it take before somebody makes a decision? How many nudges? So no one, rarely will people say, and you're probably the first person I've heard say, I saw an ad, so I bought it. Impulse purchases happen, but if you ask most people, does advertising work on you? 99% of consumers say, nah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen directly. But after about 12 or 15 exposures to an ad that's well targeted and fits a need, you have the idea yourself. You're going to go buy that. And because you showed up on that website and you bought it, you might think the ads didn't do it. But we know you were exposed 15 times and your IP address is showing up on the receipt and the fact that we showed the ad. And so, yeah, it does work. And it does take about 12 to 15 on average from what we've seen with direct to consumer campaigns to understand, well, how many are going to fall through that funnel? And that gets you to things like your cost per acquisition or cost per sale.
Right. So you also know that, like, when I'm being advertised something on Instagram and I click on the little learn more button, like, they know I clicked on that button, and so they're going to re-put that ad back into my feed, because that's what I hope that they do, because I'm going to forget about it and I'm going to be like, dang, I wish they would show me that thing again, because I really wanted to buy it, but at that time I couldn't buy it because I had to change my kid's diaper, or I had to go do something else. The chicken's burning.
More grapes.
Yeah, my husband squashed more grapes in the kitchen. So
the algorithms have been pretty well tuned to if you paid attention enough to watch that ad, good chance you're going to see it again. Yeah. And other ads that are in your feed.
Is that included in your 1,000 views? The placing the algorithm so it gets placed back into your feed if you watch the whole thing?
The exposure algorithms are the platforms own those. So Meta has their algorithm and Google has theirs, and they decide what's going to rotate in, kind of a function of how likely you are to watch it and pay attention, and what the advertiser's willing to pay. So it's that exchange. It's that what yields the best result for everybody. That's kind of the way the algorithms are tuned.
And is it even broken down into like time of day?
Oh yeah. When I was at Gateway, kind of counterintuitive, we loved syndicated late night rerun TV shows. Yeah. because
that checks out. I feel like I saw a lot of gateway ads in that area.
because you're up late. Well, it's not that expensive because these are reruns and it's in the middle of the night. So a lot of advertisers stay away from that because I don't want to run an ad when I know people are sleeping.
Yeah.
But what we found at that time was there's a lot of people that are just up late watching something they've seen 10 times.
Yeah.
And then when you remind them, oh yeah, I was supposed to get that laptop because it's back to school time and I'm going to just do it now because I can. And I'm not missing Seinfeld. I've seen this episode 7 times. So it doesn't matter. I can break away from the narrative. And that's a big piece if you're doing direct to consumer is like, how hooked are you on why you came to this platform or content in the first place? Primetime TV, live sports and stuff. People aren't stopping NFL playoffs to, I'm going to go shop for a laptop right now. No, I'm in the middle of this. I don't really want to. So yes, like depending on what your value proposition is and the audience that you're talking to and the channel you're going to be on, you might want to be in the middle of appointment viewing or avoid it. So yeah. But yes, you have the controls to do it whenever you want. You can also run it on, I want to run campaigns, everybody whose birthday is today. I just want to hit everybody whose birthday is today. So if you can think it, you can do it.
The difference between like a commercial in the middle of the night and watching a commercial in the Super Bowl is you're in a group, right? You're at a party at the Super Bowl. There's no action that you're going to do afterwards. You're in the middle of the night, you see that gateway commercial and you can the kids are asleep and you can.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing with the phone and all these like streaming services. You're actually targeting a single person, not like the household. That completely changes, all the equations, right?
And the thing that I'm excited about is that you can try it all. Like you used to have to place a bet, right? Like so much of my early training was doing all the planning and analysis of like, what's the common thread that'll resonate with the biggest audience? Because we only get one shot at this. We're going to go spend $1 million on a set and we're going to tell a story that has to work.
Put it on 7.
Now I can do a full-on ad using AI and other tools in an hour. So that means I could do 12 different takes, completely different stories, different audiences, different angles, different value propositions. Why not try them all and let data say that's the win, right? Yeah. So there's like an unlimited, infinite playbook, right? Ooh, that's a good band.
Can you adjust prices for the people who see certain ads? And like, how dangerous is that?
Wait, you mean what you're selling? You're changing the price?
I'm selling a bottle of wine, and so I'm targeting 20 to 25-year-olds, and so I offer it to them for $35. But then for 40 and 50-year-olds, I offer it to them $65.
That's a great question, Daniela, and that is one of the things that I think we're going to see unfold with agentic commerce. Mm-hmm. Some of the folks that we're talking today have talked about agentic commerce, where ChatGPT is going to go buy that for you. And ChatGPT or Gemini, if you're a Google user, they know everything. They know the receipts that are in your Gmail. They know everything. So they can set pricing discriminately based on what it thinks you'll pay.
Right.
So I think you're going to see all kinds of solutions coming from those platforms where we'll get as much as we can get from them.
Yeah.
Which kind of like from a capitalist perspective, it's like, wow, that's amazing.
Right.
But from a consumer perspective, like, that's gross.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know where I fall on that, but like the technology's there to enable it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll go back to, let's say I want to hit Northwest Chicago, 30 seconds on, give me a platform that I can advertise on.
How about my platform?
Perfect.
So,
yes. And I want to do people that make where the household income is over 200,000.
Okay.
And so let's say we're talking about 5,000 homes.
Right. So what I would do is I'd walk you backwards from what that kind of goal is. And I would say, let's plan for hitting that frequency that is kind of the critical mass frequency, where once we're at 12 to 15 exposures against those 5,000 homes, you're going to have delivered this many thousand impressions. If we work backwards from there and apply what we think the CPM is, say it's $20.
Yeah.
This is the recommended budget and timeline. The one thing that TV doesn't do that things like mobile does better is build frequency fast. So people are watching less TV, but when they do, they're way into it. So versus the feeds on their phones.
Right.
So to get to that 15 exposure number, I generally advise clients stick with it for at least 6 weeks.
Right.
To get to that number, and you'll watch your cost per sale fall dramatically over those 6-week period, and then it'll level out. And that's where you could say that's
your operating
true
cost.
Predictable cost per sale.
Right.
Now, if that's a really good margin and everything, start expanding outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
Maybe not just the people that have been to your website, that already know your brand, that are already on your wine list, but as you're reaching further out to people that aren't as familiar with you, you're reaching higher up the tree, and with less familiarity comes the need to educate, and you'll see your cost of sale continuing to go up. But you can do it iteratively to like figure out, well, where's my high watermark.
And you're actively recommending sort of TAC plans for individual customers.
Yeah.
Do you offer any kind of like, hey, if this doesn't work, we'll give you a little break or we'll start over?
Well, there's a cost to start it.
Yeah.
It's the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah.
If you're staying away from some of the giant platforms, and they are amazing, so I'm not throwing shade at them. They're just really expensive. If you wanted to do some of this on a platform called The Trade Desk, which is the big behemoth in streaming TV advertising, I think their minimum monthly spend is like $500,000 or more. Yeah. So that's out of the question for most. But there is some kind of cost of like, well, okay, we got to dedicate some people and time to this. Those people are getting paid. But generally speaking, there's self-serve platforms that for $50 a day, you can be advertising.
Really?
But be careful, because think of it as $50 as a handful of sand.
Right.
And if you don't aim that sand and you just throw it out there, it'll be diluted so fast that you're never getting to 15. And
it's just, you just lost the sand at the beach.
You just threw the sand away. Yeah. So I would say start small.
Yeah.
And that means spending, and also your focus from geography or other forms of targeting, maybe just your loyal members, and see if we can get one more bottle of wine from the people that buy regularly, and work your way out in concentric circles kind of from there to see just how big of an audience you can continue to replicate the results with.
Yeah.
And there's safeguards you can put in place. There's something called a bid cap, where you might have done your math, your business analysts have said, we can't spend more than $100 cost per sale. Right. And that might have been a former client of mine in the direct-to-consumer wine space. So we have to get under that. Yeah. But if we're under that, we'll spend limitlessly, because we're making good enough margins that why turn it off? So you can say, great, I'm not spending more than this. And that actually puts a guardrail on how much you're going to bid on the media. So you can start low, almost like an auction. I'll bid $5. Anybody taking my bid? No? Okay, well, I didn't spend any money then, because there was too much competition to even get the media. And then I can raise it to 6 and then raise it to 7. And they're like, oh, I just cleared a bunch of media at 8. Good. I'm starting as low as I could possibly go and working my way up, instead of just going with somebody quoted me some number and I'm going to try it and see what happens.
Right. Who is most of your clients? What sort of space are they in?
Direct to consumer. I've done stuff across so many different verticals. And I'm not just doing, things in TV. There's activations inside of video games now that are super interesting. So rock concerts in Fortnite, and pop-ups in Roblox games, and different forms of immersive media that are really fun. So the American Egg Board has been a client. We're talking to other food boards in this space that are really intrigued with some of the results that we've seen for them.
Yeah. Are you still doing anything? Was this you? Something about the XPRIZE?
So XPRIZE, I'm not doing anything with them currently. I'm still a big fan of their model.
Yeah.
For people that aren't familiar with it, it was a nonprofit organization that was started by a guy named Peter Diamandis, who grew up wanting to be an astronaut. Went to MIT, brilliant guy. Unfortunately, genetics said at 5 feet tall, basically, maybe a little taller, you're not going to be a NASA astronaut. So he decided, well, I'm going to get there myself. Yeah. And he took inspiration from a guy named Raymond Ortigue, who was a hotelier back in the teens, who recognized if somebody could fly across the Atlantic Ocean nonstop, it would open up all kinds of tourism, travel, hotel, everything else. Who's going to take the risk? Who's going to figure out this really hard engineering problem? And he put out a prize called the Ortigue Prize, which I think, if my memory serves right, it was $25,000, which was a lot. Yeah. And that was a big enough catalyst to pull some of the smartest minds in aviation at the time to figure out how we can solve this problem. And of course, the well-funded ones came first. Oh, we've got an ex-Navy admiral who's going to figure this out, and all of the, maybe they were millionaires back then, not billionaires. And then this guy named Charles Lindbergh, who was flying a mail plane. And because he was hands-on knowledge and knew what he could do with a plane, he ended up figuring it out across the Atlantic. And then we had open commerce and changed the world from an aviation standpoint. And so Peter, he launched the XPRIZE, which was the same kind of prize for achieving space flight. Let's get out of government contracts with Northrop Grumman and all this other stuff. Let's see if entrepreneurs can make it happen. It was $1 million prize purse. It was calling it the XPRIZE because he thought some sponsor was going to step in, and the X was the placeholder for who the sponsor was going to be. Didn't find the sponsor, but he found a benefactor, Anusha Ansari, who stepped up and said, "Okay, if somebody figures this out, I'll pay the prize purse." They bought a hole-in-one insurance policy for paying out to whoever could build a vehicle that could get to low Earth orbit and do it twice within a 2-week period. So had to be relaunched, reused. That was part of being way more efficient than anything that had ever been built. And a guy named Bert Rutan, who had done a lot of government contract work, looked at that prize purse and said, "That's enough. I'm going to go for it." Yeah. And he did it. So he did the first flight, and that got all kinds of global media attention. Then Sir Richard Branson stepped in and said, "Oh, I like this. I think I'm going to launch Virgin Galactic. I want my name on the next flight that actually wins the prize." That attracted a lot of attention when they did it. And then Peter decided, I'm going to replicate this model, and we're going to tackle the engineering problems that can benefit all of humanity. So out came the Genomics XPRIZE for mapping the human genome faster than ever had been done before. Ocean Cleanup and it attracted
a hydrogen engine.
The Automotive XPRIZE, so 100 mile per gallon weld to wheel kind of car design, sponsored by Progressive. So I went there. It was a nonprofit, and I wanted to spend a couple of years with extremely smarter people than me, learning all kinds of stuff about the world, and got to see all kinds of amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
And to us, $1 million at this point sounds like nothing. I mean, it's funny how $1 million.
Let me correct myself. It was 10 million.
Okay,
not
10
1 million.
though.
10
Right.
million.
And you're talking about
If it was $1 billion, nobody in this room is going to figure out how to fly to space. Like, it doesn't matter how much money it is.
Yeah.
But now $1 million or even $10 million, and especially with we know now how much it costs to actually get something up in space. It seems like, hey, we're going to need a little more incentive here. But if you have people that are like, if you got Richard Branson,
Richard Branson was commercializing it. He wasn't solving the problem at all.
Right.
Yeah.
He was investing in space tourists that were going to want to go up there.
Right.
And then came Blue Origin with Jeff Bezos and Elon, obviously with SpaceX. Peter opened up commercial spaceflight because he wanted to get there.
Yeah.
Did he get there?
That's a good question. I don't know if he was gone up yet in Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic, but now he's got all kinds of things.
Yeah.
He's probably got freaking flyer miles on all of them at this point.
Awesome. I kind of wanted to talk about WePlay a little bit, but are you involved with that?
Yeah. So WePlay, I was asked to come in and kind of be a turnaround CEO for a youth sports platform.
The only reason I know about it, I think I was listening to NPR one day and they were talking about video, people taking video of soccer games, basketball games. And I think there was some legal issues that were trying to get solved with people. Like some people didn't want people recording children's games and then being broadcast on any type of channel or anything.
I'm not
That would be me. I don't want
not
that to
familiar
happen.
with where that stands now. We
Okay.
sold the business in 2013 or 2014. And that was when my oldest son was about 12.
Okay.
He went on to play college sports. I couldn't help myself watching him like go through the job interview process and figure out what things look like. College athlete population is a whole different world now with NIL and things. And so coming soon, maybe even at some universities, there's the College Athlete Network, which connects current athletes and past athletes in the form of kind of a job marketplace. So they can all find each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
My wife works for Morgan Stanley, and they hire college athletes. Like that's a big, preferably Ivy League.
Yep.
But college athletes, there's something that they see in college athletes that they want.
They want a lacrosse player from Yale?
Who doesn't?
Right.
But the thing that I will say that's interesting about any athlete, it doesn't have to be a D1 athlete, D3, any
right. Well, these aren't all D1 athletes.
And I'm hoping that it becomes a little bit more balanced. I think, especially with COVID, a lot of people have left the sports world, and you learn so much by going through it. Grit, determination, eating criticism for breakfast. It's never good enough. Yeah. All those things serve you well over time. And those that have done that tend to want to see that in the people they hire, and they hold themselves accountable to like no BS. Did you perform or not? Let's look at the game film. That's I love that space. It's really. Is
that your only kid?
No, I have 2 kids.
You got 2. Okay.
The other one's pre-med at UC Santa Barbara.
Congratulations.
So he's a junior and doing extremely well, and I'm luckiest dad in the world. They must have got their mom's genes or something. I'm just here to entertain them and tell really bad jokes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Lane.
Thank you. This is fun.
You going to be hanging out for a couple more days here, or are you?
I mean, there's really smart people and lots of great wine. Why not stay?
Amen to that.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will be still hanging out at DTC Symposium for another day.
Barbara has not let us out of the dungeon.
No, not
They
yet,
even took the curtains down today.
We are going to go watch what I think is our favorite thing that happens here at DTC Symposium, where they get people from different age groups up on stage, and we get to grill them on questions about things. And that was
real consumers in real time.
Real consumers in real time.
It won't be the same as it was last year.
No, it will not.
With the Ringer crew.
We'll see.
But we'll learn something. We learned something last time.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks
everybody.
Thanks, Lane.
This is fun.
Ooh, nice cheers.
Chin chin, Bart.
These glasses, they got pretty good dingability.
You know, we are at the Direct to Consumer Symposium, where we are drinking out of banquet glassware, which anyone that has worked in banquets, they are pretty much, you could drop them from 4 feet and they will either bounce or just lay on the ground without shattering. So they're not the most elegant wine glasses, but they're pretty much indestructible.
Kind of what I deserve usually.
It's like drinking out of a mason jar with a stem.
I mean, I've broken more
mason
wine
jar with
glasses
a stem
in the dishwasher than anywhere else.
Or on the way to the dishwasher.
Yeah, on the way to the dishwasher. And I know you're not supposed to put your wine glasses in the dishwasher, but
You talking to your microphone. Welcome to the Winemakers Pod.
Welcome to the Winemakers Podcast.
Welcome to the Winemakers. Mike Siska has joined on. He will actually be giving his talk tomorrow. So you're here a little bit early just to enjoy some food and wine and social life before doing some real work tomorrow.
Absolutely. And we actually came in and we were going to stay later, but I got a call from American Airlines and there's a big winter storm hitting the Midwest. So instead of Sunday, we're actually flying home tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So they called you prompting that you should maybe get out
Change
early.
the flights.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a wine drinker?
I am. I became a wine drinker during COVID, like probably a lot of people.
And how did that go? Like you became, meaning you drank it before, but you just went deeper into it?
I rarely drank wine, quite honestly. I would have it with dinner
As
when
I
we
pour
went
in a
out.
glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers. I started out as like most young men as a beer drinker. I kind of got sick of beer and I moved to brown liquor.
Yeah.
And, was a Manhattan and Jack and Coke guy for many, many years.
Yeah.
And then during COVID, because we were working from home, I would usually be able to knock off about 4:00.
Yeah.
And so I'd usually start making dinner, and making dinner turned into a glass of wine, making dinner, and then a couple glasses of wine, making dinner, and then a couple glasses of wine with dinner.
So this is actually interesting data for me to collect, because you say you're drinking brown liquor, but you kind of converted to wine. Was it the lower alcohol, you think, that you knew you could just kind of drink it over the space of 2 or 3 hours and not get completely hammered?
It probably started as that, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, I ended up drinking more and more.
And what were you drinking
so
at
what's
first?
your pour?
Yeah.
I like whites.
Yeah.
I drink red. Like we were in Italy last year, and I really drank a lot of Chianti, and honestly, there it's great. I tend to drink white. I love Albarino.
Yeah.
I love Sauvignon Blancs from New Zealand and from Willamette Valley. So, that's really what I stick to, a little Pinot Gris from Willamette. And that's pretty much what I stick to on a daily basis.
And where's home for you?
It had been Chicago for many, many years. Recently, me and my wife moved to New Buffalo, Michigan, which is about an hour east of Chicago. So I tell people I moved to the eastern suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah.
Sorry about the Bears. Wah, wah.
Yeah, you know what? They so overachieved. I am bordering on ecstatic.
Yeah.
It's just a shame. They got a lot of free agents. They have like 24 free agents. So it ain't going to be the same team next year.
Yeah. So give us a little glimpse into what you're going to be talking about tomorrow. You're a brand ambassador, but you've not specifically in the wine industry, but for a lot of different companies and projects and products.
Yeah. Super quick background. I've been in the advertising field for about 35 years. I worked at a little agency called Leo Burnett for 23 years.
We've heard of it.
Worked at Ogilvy, worked at a company called VML, and worked at a bespoke agency that WPP created just to service Walgreens called The Farm. So that's kind of my last few years. But yeah, I'm what's known as a brand strategist. So I set strategy for brands. I do a lot of brand foundations work. You clearly do a lot of work with consumers. I set communication strategy. I write creative briefs to execute. So I kind of cover all that. And right now I'm actually an independent consultant. So that's kind of what I'm doing for clients.
How does that work? Are you pretty much how much out of the year are you actually working, and how much are you taking time off?
I probably work 4 hours a day, probably work half a day.
Yeah.
Right now I'm fairly busy. There's usually some dry periods where I might not have work for a couple months.
Yeah.
But luckily it's the work's been pretty steady, and I don't work 10, 12 hours a day like I used to at an agency.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably work 4 or 5 hours a day, probably 4 days a week.
And is there something you think you are specifically better at than other things?
Yeah, I have a lot of fun, and I do a lot of work with brand foundations. So things like a brand purpose and defining that, brand positioning, brand archetypes. A lot of people either don't know what an archetype is or kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
Why don't you describe to us what an archetype is?
Well, our archetype is literally is a long-standing historical kind of symbol or icon. A lot of the most movies, in fact, are written to archetypes. So things like the caregiver or the maverick or things like that. And the standard archetype wheel has 12 archetypes. So you basically think about your brand. Most of them also have 4 to 5 sub-archetypes. So you can really dive pretty deep, but you identify an archetype and some minor archetypes that really fit your brand. Sometimes it's just really self-evident, like clearly like Geico would be a maverick or a jester. But I did one for a brand I worked on called Pedialyte, where they had kind of two distinct brand notions. One was through the product they sell and what the product does, and one was through the brand and the role the brand played. So, you can play with it a little bit, but a lot of personality stuff, a lot of brand voice stuff can come out of that exploration. So it just, you can paint doing, 3-4 different exercises. You can paint a pretty great picture of a brand. And I was raised at Burnett, so we worked with brand purpose. So purpose, a cultural fuel, a conviction, and really setting a North Star for a brand and really setting down kind of what its conviction is and belief structure is really important, because it should be evergreen, it should be long lasting, and it really can be the North Star and set the tone for the brand, how the brand speaks to people, how the brand behaves. And then, of course, you then try to combine that with what you know about the people you want to be your customers, and, find intersections, find connection, find unique ground.
What if your archetype is probably, like, I'm looking around the table here, I would say movies that we would probably relate to would be Seabiscuit, Rocky, Shawshank Redemption. So kind of the classic underdog story. And when you have that as an archetype, is that more challenging because then your goal is not to be the underdog anymore at the end of the day? That would be your North Star, right?
Yeah, but what you're describing fits into an archetype called the everyman. So it's really about being humble. It's about, being kind of that guy next door, being the neighbor who helps you out.
Putting your head down, doing the work, not
being
complaining.
a hard worker, doing, going the extra mile for your neighbors, that kind of thing. So it's not really that you're the underdog.
Okay.
It's that maybe that's your situation.
Right.
But really the person that represent the symbol or the icon you represent is the everyman.
Right. Right. Yeah. All right. So tell us how you're going to break down your talk tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what I've been asked to talk about is how do you think about people and moving beyond demographics? So basically what I'm setting up is demographics have some use. It can usually define a potential target and the viability of that target especially from a financial standpoint. But if you think about it, you have a description of a person here and you have them buying wine here. Why? Why are they buying that wine? Right. Demographics aren't going to tell you anything about that.
Just tell you that they have the ability to buy that wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
And maybe they have the ability, but they maybe don't have the gumption. Maybe they don't physically like wine. Yeah. Maybe they don't. I mean, there's a gazillion reasons why or why not anybody
Lots
might
of
make
stuff
a purchase.
You don't know based on that information.
Yeah. So to get to the why, you got to dig deeper. You got to look into psychographics, which are things like attitudes, values, beliefs. So I talk about that a little bit, and then I talk about those become the building blocks for more and more sophisticated ways to segment your target. So kind of the next step up is mindsets and need states. So a mindset is literally simply the way you look at the world. So, and it can be driven by a ton of things, but it's really kind of the conglomeration of all your psychographics put together kind of establishes your general mindset. And really the general mindset is going to affect any way you look at any category, any product, any brand. Need states are kind of like in the same place. And need states are really nothing more than the motivation for buying something. Now, those need states are interesting because need states can change whether you're thinking about a category, a product, or a brand. Why you enter a category might be different than why you buy a specific brand and your motivation. Right. It's also contextual. So your need states and your motivations might change for the same product, same behavior. I buy a can of pop. Today I'm thirsty, so I buy a can of pop. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm a type 2 diabetic. Maybe I had a really good doctor's exam,
Right.
and I want to reward myself, so I drink a can of pop.
Right.
Same thing, same behavior, same product, very different motivations.
Yeah.
From there, you take all that, and those become the building blocks for segmentation, which you can start to identify groups of people and understand them so you can be more relevant and do things that are more personalized. And I have an example of that, a segmentation I did for Firestone. And then I talk about how you can also find a lot of data online, really pre-made segmentation. So there's one that's particularly suited for wine and luxury right now called Henry's. High earners, not rich yet.
Which is a new term that I had not I had not heard of. Yeah, high earners, not rich yet. Yeah.
So these are, you look at them demographically,
Yeah.
and they're great. It's a big group of people. I want to say it's about 25 million people. They're making between 100 and 250,000 a year. They're going to become the ultra affluent, or a group of them will become the ultra affluent because they're still fairly young. They're 35 to 50 roughly. Okay, so great. That sounds great. What do you do with that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a great target.
Give me their address.
How do I sell to them?
Yeah.
So if you look a little bit more at what's available online, you start finding out, well, they're savvy shoppers. They have the money to buy best, but you put good, better, best in front of them, they're probably going to buy in the middle. They, for really high price purchases, they make really, really considered purchases. Okay, now that's starting to tell me a little bit about who they are. You add a little syndicated data on top of that.
Which, will you explain syndicated data?
Yeah, syndicated data is just data that's available that companies like, I don't know, I can't remember the name of what they're called now, but they used to be called Yankelovich. Mintel is one. It's data you can basically buy from somebody, or you license a seat, and you can access all the data they have available.
And how are they getting?
They've just done they've done the work, and you're just
accessing it,
Yeah,
and then you do with it what you want.
Right.
And a license might cost $1,000. It might cost $5,000. It's not a huge amount of money, but like Mintel, for example, has a lot of cultural-based data, a lot of trend-based data. So it's really interesting you can go in, you can define demographically who you're looking at, and it'll give you all sorts of psychographic data.
Right.
And so when you overlay some stuff like that on top of Henry's, you find out things like they're influenced by influencers. They rely on influencers to kind of keep them abreast of what's going on. They value experiences more than material goods. So what they spend their money on is gathering experiences. So things like that. Okay, so now I know they're a savvy shopper. I know they value experiences. I know that they're probably more looking at the mid price of things, unless you give them a good reason to buy up or buy down. Right. They're not status seekers. Okay, now I can start to think about how I would market to somebody like that. Yeah. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is demand spaces, which are kind of a new way to segment. So basically what demand spaces add to the mix is context.
And I'm sorry to stop you. Mm-hmm. I thought before you said the man space.
No, demand.
So it's demand space, yeah. DEMAND.
Yes.
Okay, demand space. Thank you.
And it must be my Chicago accent coming through. The beer space.
Man. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and explain that.
So, and that's simply, again, you can do a really big study, spend a lot of money, have quantitative data, and that's, great if you have that kind of money to spend. If you don't, you can still use it as a thinking framework. And I use that term a lot because I feel like you can break down a lot of things and use them as thinking frameworks. And people aren't dumb. They know who their customer is in the wine business. They know who's coming into their tasting room. They talk to these people. They intuitively have a lot of knowledge about their customer base that you can just codify and really start thinking about, okay, now this is the profile, this is the persona of who's buying my wine. What do I do with that from a marketing perspective? Yeah. So, the demand space framework is really looking at why they're buying, the context they're in. So when are they buying? who they're with, where. So, is it in home? Is it out of home? Is it with friends? Is it with family? Is it with colleagues? Is it with a meal or outside of a meal?
Right, or online.
Yeah, and so you can start to just profile like what you know about who's buying your wine, and it's just another tool.
Are you able to somehow access people's online search histories through any of these data collection companies?
You can aggregate stuff through Google Analytics.
Yeah.
Which again, like you can go and do yourself, and there's tutorials and
really
tons of YouTube videos. That's all stuff. And if people, if people are buying search through Google, they should be getting a bunch of analytics from them.
Yeah. Do you find working on projects with products that you use yourself are a little bit different? Do you put a little bit of your personal feelings in there?
Of course you do. You can't not. But at the same time, a lot of times you got to remove yourself because the way you feel about a product isn't the way everybody feels. Right. But I have done, it's interesting that you talk about like products I would use because I've done things in my career. A lot of times people will look at like tracking studies and be like, oh, we're deficient as a brand here, here, and here. People don't like us here, here, and here. I feel like you can learn just as much talking to people who love your brand and are bonded to your brand.
Right.
So I've done for several brands I've worked on something I call passionate user research. So you bring in people who really, really love your brand and you talk to them and you use projective techniques and you find out why they love your brand. I built a whole brand strategy that Allstate used for 15 years that led to the Our Stand campaign with Dennis Haysbert and Mayhem doing passionate user research.
Wow.
Are we going to talk about Mayhem?
Sure.
Let's do it.
What do you want to know?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, the story of Mayhem is interesting because it's not a typical, here's a formal assignment. So I worked on Allstate for a lot of years, and one time, it's probably 2009, we were out there presenting creative or something, and the current CMO at the time, Mark Lenave, wandered into our meeting as he was wont to do and just sat down and started holding court. And the conversation got around to Geico and Progressive, who at the time were spending a ton of money and still do, were owning the conversation in the category. They had kind of turned the conversation from protection to price. Yeah. And so we were chatting about that, and he finally stood up and he's like, I'm sick of Geico controlling the conversation. You guys go do something to deposition Geico.
Wow.
And that was literally the assignment.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that? There's a gazillion ways to try and deposition Geico.
Yeah.
So your first thought goes to, price. We'll attack them. We can be just as inexpensive as they are. In fact, their claim, give us 15 minutes and we'll save you 15%, is kind of a bogus claim because every single insurance company has a different algorithm.
Right.
So if I go to Progressive, I go to Geico, I go to Allstate, I go to State Farm, I'm going to get 4 different prices.
Right.
So technically, Allstate is just as likely as Geico to be able to save you 15% if you give them 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So we thought about that, and we actually did some work against a couple different price areas. But really what landed us Mayhem was what I was talking to you earlier about, which is kind of this 4 C's framework I use. So it's a strategic framework, very simple, 4 quadrants: company, customer, culture, and then category, which includes competition. And you just start putting in everything you know and whittle it down to the essence of each thing, and then think about like what is the brief coming out of that. So for Mayhem, the company part we landed on, the brand, was we used to have this saying, to thy own self be true. Because at the time it was really hard not to go out and talk about price because everybody else was talking about price, but we were about protection. So, we were going to stay about protection. That's what Allstate was about. From a customer perspective, we had done a lot of work in the sports area about vulnerabilities. So we knew like people being unsure about what their insurance covered was a really powerful motivator because the fact is nobody knows what their insurance policy covers.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the customer mindset. the culture in 2009, we're coming out of the Great Recession, the worst economic era since the Great Depression. And a lot of people during that time had cut back on expenses, including insurance. So a lot of people who had more of a protection mindset had actually gone to Geico or Progressive because they wanted to save money. And then there were just a lot of people who bought on price as a first thought and didn't think too much about protection. And then the competition thing was actually really interesting because both Geico and Progressive were doing kind of devious things.
Like,
so you go on Geico's website and you'd put in maximum coverage, which is $250, $500, and they would spit out a price. And in little 4-point type in a little box in the lower left corner, it would say, we find that most people only need 100, 300. So that's what we quoted you.
oh, wow.
So
Okay.
you look at it and you're like, shit, look, this is much lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the insurance commissioners have taken care of all that subsequently. So, they can't do that anymore. But, so there were like people kind of being tricked into to buying a lower price insurance. So that really landed us on the notion of what are they cutting to get you that low price? And that was really the brief to the creatives. And, we probably looked at 2-3 dozen ideas, but Mayhem was one of them. And kind of the rest is history.
When you say creatives, is this like a kind of like the back room of Saturday Night Live with a bunch of these?
It can resemble that, but yeah, it's creatives at an agency. It's usually a team.
Yeah.
One person's an art director. That's what Barbara was.
Yeah.
And still is to a large extent. And usually they're paired with a writer. So you're going to bring in, those guys are going to generate ideas. One guy's going to think about like how the thing looks. One guy's going to write the copy for it. And that's where you get your idea.
And Mayhem was just one of those ideas.
Yeah. But as soon as we saw it, we all knew.
And so how do you see it? Like on a storyboard?
Yeah.
And did you have, was it pitched that it would be him? Because he makes that character, right?
Yeah, no, interesting. I probably can't reveal who all the other people were, but we probably looked at a dozen people.
Yeah.
And we probably seriously considered, I would guess, 4 people. And Dean was one of those people.
Yeah. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a great campaign.
And I'm assuming CEO
I laugh
was
so
happy.
hard every time.
Yeah, I mean,
With the campaign.
It was an interesting creative meeting with the client. They were very, very pleased.
Yeah.
We made some missteps early on in that campaign, but like I was talking to somebody earlier about like, your goal with creative is to become a part of the culture. And we felt we were on our way to doing that. So we launched that campaign in June of 2010, and we won that Halloween. Everybody dressed up as Mayhem on Halloween that year, and we knew we had something.
Yeah. And so, what were the numbers? What did the numbers look like a year later in terms of growth?
I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. You're
Yeah.
talking 15 years ago for me now.
Yeah.
But
positive.
But very positive. Quotes were up. One thing that was interesting was we had a really, really established brand identification character in Dennis Haysbert at the time. And within 6 months, Mayhem became more associated with Allstate than Dennis did.
Yeah.
Which was pretty amazing because we didn't think we could do better than Dennis.
Right.
I mean, that was the gold standard, not only in that category, but like really across spokespeople type
He's
campaigns.
the good hands guy.
It's not done. We actually, another interesting story, we changed that when we launched our Stand campaign with Dennis around 2005. So for years and years and years, it had always been, you're in good hands.
You're in good hands.
Right.
Yeah.
We changed it to a question, are you in good hands? Because we wanted to challenge people to think about whether they were protected.
Right.
Now, I believe that they've now reverted back to just you're in good hands.
Yeah.
But we purposely changed it after like 50, 60 years just to become a provocation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Great example of cultural
totally.
insertion that becomes something that really speaks, I mean, to nothing different than anyone else is doing, except your, kind of comical in a way.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting because one of the reasons Mayhem rose to the top for us was because when you think about the target who is buying on price, yes, we wanted to get those people who overtly wanted protection, but they had to pay a little bit less. But a lot of young people can't afford pricier insurance, so we purposely wanted something that would appeal to young people as well, and we got that.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the your free time while you're here?
We went out to dinner last night. Yeah. That was fun. We got some friends coming into town from Sonoma that actually live up near Barbara. We're gonna get some dinner with them. We're gonna see them tomorrow, and we got to go home Friday now. We were gonna probably go to Big Sur on Friday and then do something on Saturday because we were gonna fly out on Sunday. But now we got to kind of compress it.
Yeah. Cool. We'll look forward to hearing you speak tomorrow.
Yeah, 9:30.
9:30. Anything you want to promote? You want to put your name out there for anyone that's looking for?
Come to my presentation tomorrow. I got my contact information up on the last slide.
Cool.
Don't have a website. A lot of business I get is really word of mouth and just people referring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.